right, so let's get things started with my 55-gallon planted show tank, for lack of a better word. This tank has been many things. It's old. The tank itself is like 20 years old, and I've had it set up for the last few years. But it's become a haven for shrimp and mollies and guppies and plecos and corredoras and shrimp. And they all get along really well. My spouse helped me to plant this tank and do the design for the stonework. And one of the signs you know you have a healthy tank is one of the things that shrimp need to do more than anything is to be able to molt, to get rid of their old exoskeleton. And a sign of a healthy tank is a shrimp that can molt. And so if memory serves me right, you're going to see a shrimp carcass floating down from the top here shortly. So I'll point it out to you again when it happens. So I leave just enough hair algae in here for the shrimp to go crazy on. And there's the shell from a shrimp. One of the key things about keeping shrimp is you see these little white pellets on the ground. They look like little white rocks. They're alcium. They're actually calcium, which is the shrimp need to molt properly. So I make sure I put these the carob sea calcium in there so they have that available to them. And then the other trick, the other key to a healthy tank is to plant it, to put plants in it and make it a living ecosystem. I hardly ever touch this tank. I just recently trimmed the jungle val and cleared out some of the hair algae. And it's also a repository for extra plants that I have. But you can see the fat bellies on all my cardinal tetras and my plecos are doing well. When you can see them, the shrimp are fat and happy. They're having babies and they're molting. So we're doing something right. So do yourself a favor. It's not hard to do a planted tank. One of these days I'll do a soup to nuts on how to create a planted tank from scratch. I use the MD fish tank method of setting up a planted tank. So I'll do a video on that and share it with you. But here she is in all her glory. Isn't she beautiful? So moving on, this is our little 10-gallon experimental shrimp tank, and thanks to Mark Kelly for sending me out these really shrimp months ago. I wanted to try my hand at shrimp keeping, and this was you see I got a big old happy pleco in there eating whatever. But it's been a huge success. This is not hair algae, that's actually a moss that he sent me along with those shrimp. And this tank, again, I just feed it, keep it planted, put some guppies in there to get the cycle started, and then just let the fish live their best life along with the shrimp. And you can see everybody's fat and happy in this tank, and they're all getting along, and the shrimp are thriving. I was a little scared at first to raise shrimp, but let me tell you, there's really nothing to be concerned about. It's easy to raise shrimp as long as you learn a few key things. Now right below that 10-gallon tank is a 20-gallon. These are the three tanks that are up on that kind of shaky, not shaky, but they're up on a wire rack. And again, this is just one of those tanks I threw together rather quickly. It's not the most appealing tank, but it is prolific. The guppies in here are breeding, and I put some of my better looking males in here to keep them separate so the bloodlines wouldn't cross. So it's kind of a storage tank for guppies. There's some mollies in there. I've got some plants, and I've got some pothos hanging out the side of the tank. But, you know, one of these days I'll decorate a little bit better. But for right now, it's just kind of a planted tank, sparsely planted. And it pretty much takes care of itself with very little maintenance and a lot of duckweed on the top. All right, and so the tank below that is another shrimp experiment. These are my blue shrimp. Again, thank you, Mark Shelley Aquatics, for providing those. And you see little white pellets of calcium down there for them. And again, it's another experimental tank, and I've got some epiphyte plants that grow off of rocks, and I'm just kind of letting the algae go crazy. Again, a natural, semi-planted tank. until I move this one around to its permanent position. It's just kind of an overflow storage. But again, a healthy tank. I do not perform a lot of maintenance on any of these tanks. Usually once a week I try to get rid of any huge amounts of algae and do a water top off. But I don't even change the water on most of these tanks. They just they run, and I have very few losses of fish. Now my next tank is another 10-gallon tank, and again I just got done ripping this asunder because it was just totally overgrown with algae, so I've kind of stripped it. Again, it's a guppy overflow tank. You can see I've got a lot of pretty males in here and a few females, and it's a prolific breeding tank. That's the thing. You put guppies together, feed them, keep the predators down, and they just pretty much breed like rabbits. Actually, probably better than rabbits. But they also eat their young. But guppy fry are pretty quick, and you can see some tiny ones in there if you look really close. They take care of themselves. They have to. But again, I don't know what my long-term plans are with this tank. For right now, it's just sitting in kind of situ, just the way it is, till I decide what I'm going to do with it further. Alright, and there's another 10-gallon tank above that, and got a snail in there and some guppies, and maybe if you're lucky you'll see my pleco that is, likes to come out when he likes to come out. Again, beautiful guppies, guppy grass, or not guppy grass, but jungle val in here, my favorite go-to, some ferns. And I was hoping the pleco would show up, but I don't remember if he does or not. I just got done purging this tank of a bunch of algae. It's doing well. When I lose a fish, it's due to old age. It's not due to tank conditions. Because if you do planted tanks, which all mine are, they pretty much kind of take care of themselves, just like this one does. Prolific and healthy guppies. Now this tank is one of my 40-gallon tanks, and it's going to be moving here once we get some remodeling work done in the house. So it's just kind of been an experiment. I don't like these big tanks in my office. I prefer to have them spread out to other parts of the house because these are really kind of show tanks. And for some reason my gouramis have just taken to hiding these days. They get about halfway through the day, they get really stressed out and they just kind of hide. My Coreodoras are doing fine. Got some mollies and guppies in here, and they're doing fine. And I have a bunch of plecos in here that are they're too big to put anywhere else. So, and then just it's kind of a plant overflow. Again, a planted tank takes care of itself. I do very little maintenance on this, and I believe that plant up front is Bucephalandra, I believe. Now this is the tank right below the 40-gallon tank. This is another 20-gallon planted tank. This was my original planted tank, and I'm zooming in on a blue shrimp there for you to see, and I've got some Coreodoras in here. And I'm this tank I set up a couple of months ago, replanted it, and you can see we got some really weird algae growing in there. So I'm gonna I'm gonna try to find a fish, maybe put a molly in there, and maybe it'll eat some of that algae. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do before I stock this with any more fish. This tank will be staying here in my office. It's just a 20-gallon long, or breeder tank as they call them. There's the shrimp. There's 3 of those in there. And I'm hoping they're going to survive. They get enough food. I make sure I'm kind of overfeeding them with shrimp pellets and algae wafers just to make sure they survive. And the Coreodoras and their panda coreys, and they like their new environment as well. Again, planted tanks are the key. Alright, so next up is my Tetra tank, and folks, this tank is it's a hot mess. Look at that algae in there. I was tearing this tank down to try and put these fish over in the 40-gallon, but then that got delayed, so they're going to stay where they are. And this tank just never thrived plant-wise, and I don't know that I put enough effort into it. So I'm going to do a reset on it maybe this weekend and see if I can't get some of that. The problem is those rocks a lot of time attract certain species of algae, and then they end up getting covered with it or by plant matter. So there's a big old pleco in there as well. So I don't know. We'll do something with this tank. Right now it's just keeping my tetras alive. They're nice and healthy, as you can see. And so, yeah, I got plans for it though. And next to that tank, we have another 20-gallon long tank, and it's full of guppies, shrimp, and plants. And this tank just is going nuts. Look at the shrimp. Again, I feed it. I top off the water. I never change it. I've had very few fish die in here. If they have, I don't know about it. There is a pleco in this tank. But as you can see, those jungle val, you just can't beat them for healthy plants. And I'm diversifying my plant selection. You're going to see that in a video up and coming. Plants are not cheap, and so I get them when I can afford them. But I want to show them in their best state, like this plant here that I've been, growing for years. They're very slow growing. The jungle val grow quickly, but the other plants, the epiphytes, they're pretty slow growers. I give these tanks about 8 hours of light a day. I'm just using those floodlights that you saw me set up a few years ago. I think they're 10-watt floodlights. They're IP67 waterproof or whatever. Go back and look at one of my other videos. I did a whole video around those lights. So, beautiful tank. And here above that tank is another 40-gallon tank, and again, that's going to be moved to another part of the house once we get the remodeling done. And this is the one that has my swordtails in it, and they're doing great. They've been in this tank for well over a year now. Again, jungle val, the main plant in here. There's a couple others, but I just seem to be really handy with jungle val. And this one has rocks in it and doesn't have out of control algae. It has a single algae eater in it and a bunch of wow, cories. I was at a loss for words there. It's got some cories in there, albino cories, and again, a very healthy tank. I used to have what did I have in there? Another blue gourami, and he since passed. He died from old age. Then I had another animal in here, another fish that was so old her back twisted, her spine twisted, and she passed away a few weeks ago. But she was a long-lived fish, and again, my fish tend to die from old age, not from disease or because of poisonous water. And again, tanks, planted tanks, are the key. Now, one thing, this is another 10-gallon over here by my desk. One thing that people tend to think is a dark-colored tank is a sick tank, but it's not. This tank is dark because it's got wood in it, and it releases something called tannins, the same thing that is released when you soak a tea bag in hot water. This wood has got tannins in it, and they leach into the water, and the fish, for the most part, love it. Doesn't hurt the fish at all, but it tends to give it a look like, ooh, it's kind of dark and murky, and some might even say this is not a pretty tank, but it's a healthy tank, and it's an experiment. It's a work in progress, and I always start off my tanks with guppies. One, they're easy to start a tank, they get it cycled quickly, and two, they're easy to catch when you want to move them out and put them somewhere else. And in here I also have some shrimp, but this was a snail tank. And you can see I got fry all over the place, the babies. This originally, and there's a shrimp, but originally I got it as a snail tank because I wanted to see how prolific I could get my snail community to be. And as you can see, very prolific indeed. Easy for me to say. And yet another experimental 10-gallon tank. Say hello to Bubbles over to the left there. Bubbles is my beta. I rescued him from the pet store and gave him roomy 10-gallon tank with lots of Amazon frog bit floating. That's what those tendrils are reaching down. And yeah, he's just kind of sitting there. That's what betas do. They sit there. They're very good at it. Not real good at moving around though, for whatever reason. I also have some guppies in this tank. Again, they got it cycled, but you can see he's kind of photogenic. I just fell in love with him at the store and had to have him. I think he was $8 or $9, and there's the guppies hiding in the back. Again, I use them to cycle the tank. Not a real appealing tank, but Bubbles loves it, so there you go. And here's the final tank I'm going to share with you, and it's not one I've covered before. It's our goldfish tank in the living room, and it's a bow front aquarium, so it's got kind of a bowed front, and it gives kind of a distortion. Anyway, we have 3 very healthy goldfish in here that we've had. We probably had these goldfish 3 or 4 years now. They live forever. They get really big. Keep in mind they are carp, so they will get very large. And I've got some guppies in here because I was trying an experiment, and yes, guppies will survive with goldfish if they're not eaten. And this is my duckweed repository, so whenever I have leftover duckweed, which I have a lot of, the goldfish get it and they eat it, and it helps with their digestion because typically people overfeed goldfish. They have digestive problems. If you don't give them peas or green vegetables, they get plugged up and they can die from that. Typically they die from bloat, or they'll get swim bladder. I also have found a very effective way to cure swim bladder, just to make sure that at least once a week they're getting some duckweed or some peas, and that helps keep their bladder from, that's when they swim upside down or lay on their side or whatever. So be aware if you see that in your goldfish. They need some leafy green veg.
I've been watching old Unky Joe. From Texas heat to where the cacti grow. Fixing server solar power in the land, hoping that his plans all stand, making life a touch more bright underneath those southern